to meet you in person yet. It's my deep honor to serve our community as superintendent of schools in the Vail School District. I know that I see some familiar faces and people that I've known for a while here. If I don't know me, I'll just tell you a little bit about me. I've been in our school district for a long time. In June, I will have completed my 30th year in our school district. Like you, my wife and I live here in our community. We've raised our family here. This is home. So as we do occasionally, whenever there's an issue, we bring people together, and that's what we're doing tonight too. So wanna just frame it up that way. I turned this a listening meeting for a number of reasons. One, I hope that I'm striving to do that. That's my purpose and intent tonight, is to listen and seek to understand. And I just simply extend that same invitation to you to seek to listen, to understand also, as we walk through this process together. So just a couple of housekeeping things. If you need a restroom, there's a restroom right around the corner here to help with that. We've got a few staff members here to help. First of all, John Nelson is helping get us me mic'd up, so that's he's part of our technology team. That's an important piece of what we're doing. Jerry Wood is our director of facilities. Cindy Peterson, if you really want to know who runs the district, she runs the district. She's my administrative assistant and the governing board secretary. I'd be lost without her. She's taking some notes. Katie Dabney is our director of HR in the back. And Kevin Carney's our assistant superintendent. Also been here a long time, and Kevin's retiring at the end of June. And Katie will be taking his place. Let's see, we have Ethan Hurley was running around. Ethan's over on this side. He's our chief schools officer. We'll also be moving into the assistant superintendent role later, as we have another assistant superintendent transitioning out. Debbie Penn is retiring at the end of December. And Darcy Wintones, our director of communication, and her sidekick, Kendra Santucci, is our communication coordinator. So that's our staff that's here tonight. If you need any other assistance, that's who's here. As you came in, there's several documents that were there. Just wanted you to have those things. There's a FAQ document that lays out just some of what our thoughts are around this issue, and frankly, I know that there's been a lot of conversation around that, but this is grounded in what I consider our truth, and why we're doing those things. There's also a document from Secular AZ that was sent to us I think it was the end of March, in response to this, and then the law firm that we've been using to help frame this process, their response to them. So just being transparent, you've got all three documents. Oh, and the last document that's there is the actual lease agreement as well. So just want you to have that information, okay? So that's what's available to you should you want to do that or look through that. So again, welcome, and what's the purpose? Really want to help provide clear and factual information around the lease and donation agreement. That's what I hope to communicate to you, and seek to clarify, but I also seek to listen. I hope, and I just, again, this is my intent, I just invite you into that space with me too, to also seek to listen, and that we do those things respectfully. My intent is to be here to understand the community concerns and the community perspectives. We're going to have respectful dialogue tonight. We're all adults here. I trust that that'll happen. Expect that that'll happen. Again, if I'm just framing this up in a way to help me, I'm imagining that there are a classroom full of 10-year-old children over there on that side. And that those 10-year-old children are watching me, and that how I respond is in a manner that would model something that I would hope that they would look up to. So that's how I'm choosing to do this. I'm simply inviting all of us into that space. We have a wonderful community. Again, we've been involved in a lot of community conversations over the years, and just hope that we keep it that way, okay? Otherwise, we can just be kind of informal with how we roll. You've received if you want to ask a question, there's a paper you can fill out. Kevin Carney is here. Once we get to the question pieces, he'll pass out some numbers just so we'll have an opportunity to address everybody that wants to come up, and we'll just move over to the mic and do that at that time. Sound okay? All right. If you give me about 10 minutes of just kind of an overview, I would appreciate that, and then we'll jump into your questions. All right. So just running through what you have in your hand as far as the frequently asked questions and clarifications. So why do we even begin this process in the first place? Well, just a little bit of background. Our mission statement guiding principles have been in play for well over 30 years. Actually, I think 40 years now. They're something that were in place when I arrived here, and frankly, they called me here when I read them. I deeply appreciate the fact that we seek to serve parents, and that this is a place where we try and work to provide parents with safe and nurturing school communities where our children can receive high quality education. For me, what that looks like, and I talk about this with our staff all the time, is we need to do two things incredibly well to make that happen. One is establish really high quality relationships, and two, we must establish really high quality programs and opportunities for children. I think a lot of places get that wrong, and they focus perhaps on one over the other. And our purpose is to seek to do both of those things really well. I will tell you, we're people, I'm a person. Sometimes we seek to do that imperfectly, but we're going to aggressively pursue opportunities that come up around that mission all the time. And if we don't do those things, frankly, then we stop being, in my mind, the kind of school district that we've been for the last 30-some years. So that's through that kind of a lens, and through our motto, which is where education is a community effort. And I hope that you see evidence of that. I know if you don't, I'm happy to talk about some of those things, but we really seek to partner with our community. We seek to bring people in. We do things like, I think probably the biggest example of that is our Vail Pride Day, where we celebrate children and their accomplishments. Once a year at the fairgrounds. This past year we had over 20,000 people attend that event, including a huge number of community partners that were represented there. So we are going to do those things. We're going to pursue those avenues, high quality relationships, high quality programs and offerings for children, in pursuit to provide all of us, my family benefited from this as well as yours, rich opportunities and spaces where our kids can thrive. So, why else do we do this? Well, we're receiving a fully funded, district-owned community room at no taxpayer expense. It's free to us. That's a direct benefit. We're increasing safety for students who want to choose to utilize voluntary seminary instruction. We're doing this to hold those long-standing partnerships with a variety of community groups, and also be able to expand those offerings to other groups. And there's a public benefit to us as a community, to us as a district, at no cost. All design, construction, and maintenance costs have been donated. So what is it exactly? There's been a lot of conversation about that. What it is 1,300 square foot community room with a classroom, restroom, foyer, small office. It's bigger than this room. This is larger than 1,300 square feet. Excuse me, this room is, let me rephrase that, this room is bigger than what it would eventually be. So if you have been in one of our science classrooms lately, that's 1,100 square feet. A standard classroom is 900 square feet. So it's not an incredibly large space. Who can use the building? Well, once it's constructed, the agreement is to lease that back to the church during the weekday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And outside of those hours, it becomes available for district use and community use. We own and control that building. And so that's something that we do. And let me just pause here for a moment. We have on a number of our campuses, we do partnerships with other community groups, but on the property where Cienega High School sits, that property was developed in mind for broad community use. For example, it's 55 acres roughly, and when we built it, we entered a partnership with Pima County Parks, and they put in a field and lights there for community use. We and the community have benefited from that. We entered into a partnership with Pima Community College. That they began a Southeast Learning Center for some of us who remember that. They ran classes out of that. They had two classrooms there, and they paid for those classrooms to be built. And about 10 years after use, they said they don't need that space anymore. The district owns and controls that space. So we have a long history of sharing space. Also on that space is the Vail Inclusive Preschool. So just sharing some examples of what that looks like. So what community spaces can be on a broader district piece of property. So how do we benefit? Yes, we benefit because we receive that fully funded permanent community building. The monthly lease payments and rent are structured in a way to cover all maintenance and all operational costs, certainly during the time of that lease, Monday through Friday, during those time periods. All funds for design, construction, and furnishings will be made through a donation from the church to the district. So there isn't any additional funds that are being made to build or construct that facility. So one of the questions that's come up a lot, and I've seen in some of the commentary, is this is release time instruction or a release time program. It's not. Bottom line is it's not. Several things have changed since I went to high school. Perhaps since you went to high school, some of them are fairly recent, within the last 7 or so years. And one of them is what's called a flexible seat time model. And for example, our students, and I'm just going to use Cienega, but this happens at all of our high schools, about a third of them have something in their school day that's titled no class. So they're not taking class during that time period. They're doing work study. They're doing they're doing a free study hall. They're taking a college class, an online college class. Some of them go home and then they come back. It just depends on how they link those things together. But it's titled no class, so no child is being released from required course to go do those things that are called no class time. So that's just something that's fundamentally changed. It's changed in the Arizona Revised Statute. I don't know, you remember how many years ago now, Ethan? 7, 8?
Yeah, at least 5.
Yeah, at least 5. So is it legal? I know there's debate about that. I will simply say that we have received legal guidance, and we've been engaged with a team of lawyers who've looked over this. And when this first came to our attention, the first question is this legal? Is there a legal framework to even make this happen? We're not doing anything without first understanding, is it legal? Is there a legal framework? Legal to the state statutes in Arizona and legal to federal laws? And the answer is yes, it is. And they laid out the framework for what that is, assured us, and we moved forward with the decision with that understanding in mind, okay? So I know there may be some questions about that later, but if you have them, what I would say to you is there's a response to the Secular AZ letter that's there that lays out that's the specifics of what that legal framework looked like, okay? Is it mandatory? Is the program mandatory? No, it's absolutely not mandatory. Seminary instruction requires parental permission, so you can't attend there unless you first get parental permission, and it's completely voluntary. Can other religions or groups have the same opportunity? Short answer is yes. The district's facility use policy is content neutral, and any group can apply to us with, and we would consider that request under the same terms that we've considered this one. What I can tell you is I've been here 30 years. I've never had another group come forward with a similar kind of offer to donate several $100,000 to be able to do this. I promise I'll get to your question. Yeah. Why not build seminary offsite? Well, I'll be honest with you. That's really largely a question for the LDS Church to decide. What we considered is when they approached us with a donation and lease agreement, again, is it legal? Can we make it work? What might that look like? We determined that it was, and that there's benefit not only to the school district in receiving a permanent public good in a building, but we also frankly know that we serve a large number of families who that would benefit, who would make their lives a lot easier by having it in a safe proximity place for them. What about kids who don't participate? Well, there's no academic credit that's given. It's not a class. There's no credit. No student is penalized or advantaged by this program at all. And it's simply one of many voluntary options that students can do during their free time, whether that's free time before or after school, or as I mentioned, during that no class or block in their day. Yeah, can other groups lease district space? Yes. We have lots of rental agreements and lots of lease agreements with many other groups across the districts, other churches, other organizations. Our facilities are used all the time by our community via rent or lease. Is religious signage allowed? The only signage that will be allowed is temporary signage. It has to come down and has to be able to come down. Any permanent religious displays are not allowed. I don't know if any of you have attended a church that's in one of our schools. Many of them are in our dining auditoriums. I've attended many of them. When I walk in to a dining auditorium on a Sunday morning, it doesn't look like a dining auditorium. It looks like a church. It represents a church. When I walk back in there on Monday morning, it looks like a dining auditorium. That's the intent of the space. So what other guardrails are in place? Well, the instructors are not school employees at all. There's no relationship at all with the people who will be operating that. It's simply we're leasing that to this organization and they're choosing how to use that space. Just like we do with the Scouts, just like we do with other churches, just like we do with tutoring services, any of those other things. We don't interfere with who their employees are or what they're doing. And just like those other organizations, vetting the staff is a responsibility of that organization. The religious instruction is confined to the lease hours and free time for those that are participating. No public funds can or will be used. And then the district retains full ownership and operational authority outside the lease time. I think that's the last slide. So with that, how are we doing? That's what I have for kind of the general overview. Those things that I referenced are in your handout as far as the frequently asked questions document. And we'll be happy to ask or entertain questions. What I would like to do is, if it's okay, if you have a question, I can provide. If you want to come up and just come over.
Is this done?
Yeah, Sure.
Can I explain the system?
Yeah, so, why don't, let's see, how many people want to, let me just get a sense for, how many people are thinking they're going to want to ask questions? Okay, if you want to ask a question, Darcy will keep your hands up and Darcy will come around with a slip of paper. And then what you can do, if you think you want to ask a question, please just do that. You can, that also allows, if you want to leave a comment, you can leave a comment, and then we can just give you a number to get started. So is that all right?
So we have the first 8.
Okay, first 8 ready to go?
And then after that, if you hold your slip up, we'll come around and grab them in order and we'll give you a number, and that way you'll know when it's your turn to come.
So we've got question number 1 all ready to go? Okay, question number 1 is ready to go. Come on up.
Okay, so number 1 is Diana Roche.
Wouldn't you know it? I did not want to be first. Do I have to go up there?
Okay, if you can convince Joseph Drayden to go in front of you.
Oh, I would love it. Thank you, Joseph. Please.
How much is talking, how much is questions back and forth?
Thank you.
Or that was a question, I guess. Is this a dialogue or am I giving a speech?
Fair.
Yeah, it's a fair question. There's a lot of, I mean, there's about 45 people in the room, so I just want to be respectful of other people's time. So you and I can go back and forth for a bit, and then why don't we try it that way, Joseph, and then we'll give it a bit, and then let other people ask questions. Okay?
Sounds good, and
Okay.
cut me off when we
Okay,
feel like
thanks.
we gotta move to the next person. So, I wanted to start off and say, I think, I'm sure there's people that are, from LDS in this room. I'm sure there's many people that are not. I have been friendly with and have relationships with people that are LDS and people that are not. And I think, I'm here to stand in opposition to this. I'm sure there's people that are here in support. My standing in opposition is, and I'm sure this goes for everybody in the room that is in opposition to this, is that isn't something to stand in the face of the folks that are, for this. And, what they represent as people, I think there's gonna be people that are for it, that have good interests, good hearts, right, that want the right things for yourselves and your community, and that's fine. But I want you to know that when we come here to propose this isn't an attack and affront on you. And with that said, I will say, I'm very disappointed in yourself and the school board members in being able to even move forward with this proposal without consideration and input from the broader community and without full consideration for some of the conflict of interest that I think you have. And honestly, some of the, I don't believe you're LDS, and that's fine. Some of the conflict of interest, I think, in compromising position that even this proposal being put forth puts people like yourself in, where you're between a rock and a hard place. Now you're gonna want to, do I approve something that I don't quite feel comfortable with? I can hear the discomfort in your voice, the way things are written to justify that this is something that's valid, versus the people that are gonna oppose this and then stand up here and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. And so, with that said up front, my first question is about cost. So if you say, this group is gonna fund all the costs, that's great, but there's a 0% chance that the district pays no money out of pocket. We're here now, there's expenses being incurred right now. If they pay for all the costs, anyone who works projects and funding and finance knows the general and administrative costs, the indirect costs, the HR costs, the communication costs, your cost and salary that's going to this is not taken into account in the funding that the LDS is providing for this building. And then on top of it, and this is, I think, to me, the most bothersome thing about this whole proposal, is you should know up front that this is gonna face serious opposition. And you have a fiduciary duty to the community to make sure that you mitigate those risks to the district. And I could see something like this going up to state or federal court. Is the district gonna pay the legal expenses to fight this? And so that's my first question. How can you avoid and cover the indirect costs? What is the district gonna do to ensure that the legal expenses from this don't come out of the district's budget?
Good question.
I appreciate your comments, and Mr. Makin, and I'm also noticing your shirt. Cool shirt, I got the same shirt.
I got like 10 of them.
Yeah, they're nice shirts, I noticed. There's, and I don't want to get legalistic, but there's no requirement regarding indirect costs for us to enter for me to do my work. So just, I'll use myself as an example. That's covered in the overall construct of what I do in my role as superintendent. There's a lot of indirect costs that I do for any project that comes. So there's lots of case law on that as an example, we're building Saguaro Creek Elementary School. That requires staff time, my time, those things are covered. We're getting funding for that from the state and from bonds, and there's no payment for indirect costs associated with that. So the project is,
So we're gonna take those.
again, if I can just ask, and I appreciate people's enthusiasm, but let's, what I please just ask that we don't have comments back and forth. Among the, other than with the person there, okay? I just asked that. So, we may disagree on that, but you're asked, and that's my statement.
Right, so I think it's not necessarily
Yeah.
you're saying, we'll pay those costs, they're not recoverable, so the district is spending money indirectly.
I did not say that. I said my job has a lot of indirect costs that are associated with everything that I do. So, anything I do is a part of my overall duties. Those things are covered, and there's,
By district budget, right?
well, by what I do every day, yeah. I suppose you could say that fits into the 65th hour of my work week, maybe.
No, I understand, so I think that answers the question. So that's the second, I assume.
So the second question regarding the legal costs are, and I'll answer it this way. Organizations the size of our district now, pretty typically hire an attorney as part of their staff. That's not an uncommon thing. We don't do that. We've chosen not to do that for a variety of reasons. One, there's actually, frankly, a much better option for school districts to do that, and that's through the Arizona Risk Retention Trust, which is our insurance group. And we do what's called prepaid legal services, which, I'll be transparent with you, costs us about $65,000 a year, which is fairly inexpensive attorney these days. And what that allows us to do is access legal expertise through a number of firms, not just one person. So we can go to firms who have experience with things and get input on legal advice. So all of the costs that are associated with this on the legal side are covered under that prepaid legal service. What you said?
Paid legal service is not for this particular project, that's an indirect cost.
Right, so you're, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah,
And
any a flat rate up front that covers that service, and you're getting, I assume.
And you said what happens if it goes, what happens if it goes
I'm
up?
sure there's a limit on that, right? Like, yeah, you can't, they're not gonna work for $65,000, for free forever, right?
Yeah, anything that is covered that, like a response to the letter or any of those other things is covered under those fees. If something is escalated, first of all, we're not there yet, right? And we're not to that point. And second of all, I think, that's why we're here listening to you. Where are we? What are we doing with this? There's lots of decision points that could happen that aren't in front of us yet, but that's one of them. But what I'm telling you for now is that all I would say, near-term foreseeable legal costs are covered under what we do with normal operating business through our prepaid legal service.
Right, so there are extensive indirect costs that are still being incurred, no, they're working on otherwise
That's
been
not-
incurred. No,
So
you would say
respectfully,
it's not
that's not what I
increased
said, but if you want to
costs.
say that, that's okay.
Right, it's not an increase to district costs currently, but it could result in an increase in district
Yeah.
costs in the future. So
I don't know that. I'll be honest, I don't know
That
that.
kind of brings me to my next question, which is, what's the stand down point on this? If you start to have a lawsuit that results in additional direct costs for attorneys, what is your decision points for standing down? Is enough community resistance to it? You know, are you willing to go out to have a public vote? Like, what is it that you feel is necessary for you, for the district to stand down on this
Okay.
entire? Because I don't think that was really addressed
No.
in the questions that
Yeah,
you
fair.
posed up front.
That's fair. No, it was not addressed as part of that. What I will tell you, in general, we are holding this decision lightly. It is a decision that's been made. I can tell you,
Then what's the point of
my,
To appease us.
a decision has been made. Hold on, just give me a chance, all right?
No, I didn't know
But
this was a tough
there's
question.
no, if we need to walk this back, we'll walk it back. I mean, that's.
That's what I'm asking, is under what circumstances? What is it that you feel is necessary for you to act?
I think some of that is, I'll be honest, I'm trying to be, as
No,
honestly as
I
I-
understand.
I'm not,
I know the difficult position that you're in.
no, it's okay.
This is a challenging.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm just trying to be as clear as I possibly can. That's a really hard question to answer, okay? There is no, like, if we meet this threshold, that's automatic. I think there's a number of factors that we need to pay. One, that's why I'm doing this meeting. What are we hearing tonight? What are your larger concerns? I'm gonna bring those larger concerns forward to the board. That's one consideration, right? Another consideration, that I don't know or haven't, gotten input on is, where does the church wanna do this? I mean, the broader church, what is their stance moving forward, knowing that there's some disagreement around this? I can't answer that question. So those are two potential decision points right there, right? And the third one is what you raised, is what does, something that looks like filed litigation, what does that look like? And I'd say the fourth one is just, what's the issue of public concern? So I think if I had to lay them out as decision points, I would say, where are we as a community? Where's the church? Where's our board and what they want to do? And what happens from a legal standpoint? What are those four pieces? We'll continue to evaluate them. What I would say in closing that portion of the conversation is I go back to that original piece in the values on the wall. We pursued this. I picked this up when I was approached by the church in regard to this, because we are seeking to provide parents with safe, nurturing school communities where their kids can go. And this is an opportunity to do that and receive a public benefit, and it's an opportunity to provide an ease for a large number of families that we serve. If we need to walk that back, we'll walk it back. But what I'm not apologetic for is pursuing those values. And I will say, we're gonna pursue them, and sometimes we might pursue them imperfectly. And if that happened and that has caused you to be here tonight, I'm sorry for that. But my point is, we've done that. It's what has pushed us to be the excelling school district that we are, and we're gonna keep doing it, okay?
No, understood. So I think, I hear what you're saying. You don't have a clear, decisive stand down point, but you're willing to listen tonight. You want to hear what people have to say, and then you're gonna address those decision points moving
Okay.
forward.
Fair, I'm sure whatever question you have, other people might have. If we don't, I just want to be respectful of people's
Yeah, so
time.
I don't have any more questions.
Thanks.
I just want to wrap with a comment. I think because I asked two questions, but I don't think addressed why I disagree with this entirely, right?
Okay.
I disagree with the cost, but I think fundamentally, from an ethical standpoint, right, we have, whether or not your attorneys say Arizona law, federal law, this is legal or not, I think ethically and with respect to the premise of the United States Constitution that we're founded on, there is a fundamental separation of church and state, and this violates that tenet. Whether or not it violates something legally And I think that most of the folks that stand against this would agree that we don't wanna have an encroachment of church in public schools in any fashion, whether it's a mosque, a synagogue, the satanic church, or the LDS church. You know, we wanna have an environment, or Christian church, or whatever, right? We wanna have an environment where, you know, we follow the law, but we also follow that basic underlying tenet of the United States, which is the church is separate, right? And so that's why I stand against this. I think it is important that, you know, the folks that wanna have access to assembly, that's great. Find land next to the church, or find land next to the school, find land somewhere in the district, develop an after-school club. There's mechanisms to do this that don't violate that tenet. So that's why I'm here. That's why I think this is the incorrect path to go. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being first. And it's nice to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Remind me of your name again?
I'm Diana Roche,
Diana.
and I'm a retired teacher, 31 years in District 1, and a retired librarian. We moved here in 1990 when there was only Acacia and the Vale Middle School.
Yeah.
I rode the bus to Phoenix to talk to the legislature to get Sienega built. So I support this school system. I really love this Vale school system. Until recently, and I feel as if part of the population out there is being ignored. I vote for the bond issues. I may be retired, I may be one of the old folks people make fun of. Oh, they don't want to vote for bond funding for schools. No, we have to support the next generation of children so that our nation is taken care of by educated students. So we have to support our schools. My rub here is this separation of church and state thing. Basically, I read this Deacon Cini, and by the way, you have a stellar law firm representing your district. Yeah. I must say, this is no cheapy law firm, folks. But beyond that, they state here in the reply to the, what's the name of the secular group?
Diana, move your mic.
Secularizing.
In their reply, they're refuting one of their tenets. They're saying that the main footprint of the campus and a substantial walking distance away from the high school, thus a suitable place away from school property. Hey folks, it's on school property.
Yep.
You can't get away from that. Maybe they could walk to Kingdom Come if it's still
Excuse me,
on
can you put the
school
mic up?
property.
We can't hear you.
Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry, if it's on school property, then hey, it's against this tenant. I don't care how far they have to walk, how inconvenient it is. And hey, part of my family's LDS, I'm not against the church at all, it has nothing to do with that. It's this idea of it should not be on the school campus during school instruction time. So they have their little class free times. School instruction time is from what, 7:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock until 3:30 or 3 o'clock? That's the whole problem, you've gotta separate it. So, that's what I'm concerned about. Oh, and one thing, it would have been really nice, Superintendent, if you had had little breakout sessions about this little problem before this all erupted. We feel like 13 years of this has been planned behind our backs, and now it's being snuck. It's like, okay, the town is I'm supporting this school system, but I feel deceived. I really feel deceived.
I'm sorry, Diana, that you feel that way, and, yeah, all I'll say is, while the decision, that we do this a lot, there's a lot of informal things that come to us, and we don't make a decision around, to bring it forward until something looks like that it's actually got legs. And that there's a possibility that it will work. And that's simply what happened here. I can tell you, the comment around the 13 years in the making, we've, I think the previous superintendent, who had some conversations with the church, and it didn't go, they weren't gonna go anywhere. They weren't interested, there wasn't interest. It wasn't until there was interest, and that it might be viable and there might be a benefit that we brought forward. But I hear your concern, so. Who's next? Who's number 3? Darcy? Who's number 3?
Number 3, next up is Fred McKee. After him is
sir.
Nancy Ruiz. Just so you're prepared.
Good evening, I'm glad we're holding this meeting. 30 years ago, I bought 20 acres of beautiful horse property out in Rincon Valley. I'm a retired teacher. I built my house in 2000. I've been living in the district for 25 years. I have supported every bond issue, everything, because I think education is just as important as everybody has said that it is. But I cannot support this. Separation of church and state is a major thing for me. I don't think we should intertwine religion with the public property. There should be none of that going on. Because yes, somebody can come in, once you set the precedent, and I think if D. Consini, law firm, looks at all of the court cases, including the Supreme Court, they should have suggested to you that you not pursue this. In my mind, I can't figure out why you guys thought this was a good idea. I really can't. You had to know that this was coming, and you had to know that a lot of the district personnel and people do not support this. Separation of church and state is very important. You have to be using a lot of the resources to actually fight this like you're doing. I think when you're paying $65,000 on a retainer to the biggest law firm in the state, I would imagine that if somebody decides they're gonna sue you, whether it be because it's against the Constitution, or they think that these things aren't really legal, all of them, on school property, I would think that there's gonna be a whole lot of, even millions of dollars spent, fighting this by the district. That includes my tax money, which I do not want that spent, okay? I only have 2 questions, because most people have covered everything I was thinking. Like I said, being a retired teacher, I support the district. I think it's great schools. And how long ago, somebody mentioned 13 years, how long ago was this seminary, and what are you calling it now, a community room? This seminary was proposed by whom? And it's been, sitting there for 13 years without any input to the public? Has it been sitting in the background? I don't understand. That's my first question. My final question is, are we gonna have to raise more money if this district has to fight this all the way through the courts? Where are we gonna get the money? Other than, thanks for letting me talk.
Yeah. You're welcome. Let me hit the court fight, and you mentioned a $65,000 retainer. We're not on a retainer with D. Consini. We have a prepaid legal service that allows us access to multiple law firms. In fact, I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, the governor signed into law, the legislature passed, the governor signed into law. If your parents, get ready for this, no cell phones in schools. So that goes into effect. I'm glad to hear you clap, by the way. But that's gonna cause we need to figure out what that looks like, and there's gonna be, we need to involve attorneys in figuring some of those things out and review policy. That same $65,000 that's covering this covers our costs with that. That's what it is. So it isn't a set aside specific for this, okay? So hold on, the second.
Yeah, that's not related. It's not applicable.
So the second piece is what if there's a lengthy court fight? I'll just say what I said to Joseph. We're not there yet.
When someone who is not vetted does something, who's gonna pay for those
Yeah.
costs? Who's gonna pay for the lawyer?
Yeah. If you just let me, I heard the question. Please, I just ask for your respect on that. We're not there yet. And Joseph asked the question, what are the turnaround points, right? And I said what they are. There's multiple pieces of the turnaround points. Frankly, listening to you tonight is is gathering input. I will take the responsibility for not, it was not done with an intention to arrive here and have you upset, okay? So there was no intention to do that. But if that has caused that, what we're doing is listening tonight. So I'm actively listening. I'm not, those weren't words that are up there that I'm not listening, that I'm not adhering to. I hear you. I hear what you're saying, I'm taking your feedback. So that's one decision point of gathering input about what we're doing, right? Another one is, where's the church on this? Another one, which is the issue that Fred and Joseph raised, which is what happens if other legal pieces come. I don't know what that is because we're not there yet, and I don't know what those pieces are. So we'll evaluate those pieces as we begin to move forward from here. But that's so. I don't, saying things beyond that starts to get into hypotheticals, because we're not there yet. So that's why if you want more information about that, there's more information. It's hard for me to give that. I will tell you, we will be fiscally responsible with what this looks like. Frankly, it's one of the large reasons that we're here. We're able to get a community room at no expense. And I hear the indirect cost piece, but I can tell you, we have 2 classrooms at Cienega that were paid for by Pima Community College. Pima Community College doesn't use those classrooms anymore.
It's not a church. That's not a church.
My point is they're not there now, and they don't, and we have that spot. So this is a 10-year lease. Nobody's saying what happens beyond that 10-year lease. So that's I remember where Fred went. Fred, I hope I answered the rest of your questions. Who's number 4?
Nancy.
Nancy. You didn't answer a second
After
question.
Nancy is Geraldine Kleber.
Oh, how long was it proposed? You're right, thank you. Fred, come on up, Nancy. How long ago was it proposed? There was nothing proposed until about 9 months ago, where there was like, hey, we're really interested in doing this. There was discussions around could this be a possibility? We're looking for a place for seminary. Where might that happen? Looked at options. At one point, it got so far as working with some attorneys to create some legal framework. Is it legal? Frankly, hold on, please let me respond. Frankly, the church didn't want to move forward at that time period. This is like 7 or 8 years ago. And it's been back and forth. I can tell you that the same, I'm not saying this to convince anybody, I'm just telling you, similar constructs have been used in other districts and in other places that they currently have seminaries on district property, and it rolled through. I think frankly, part of the reason that I underestimated the responses. I'm looking at other communities that look a lot like ours, where there wasn't any issue with this, and there is a seminary where that happens. So, anyways, I'm not I understand, please hear me again say, I'm not trying to say that to change your mind, I'm just telling you what my thinking was and how we got there, okay? So how long ago was it proposed? We get a lot of ideas that are proposed. I will tell you, if you've been here for a while, does anybody remember when the Mall of America was gonna come to Vail? Anybody remember all of those things? So we've had discussions with the owners of the property around the district office when it was gonna be a mall. We've had discussions with the second owner who's gonna turn it into mixed-use commercial space. Earlier this week, had discussions with the developer. They are about 4 months, 5 months away from securing all the permits necessary to put about 400 homes back behind the district office. That's looking more and more like it's going to go. So how long have we been in discussions with that group? It's probably 15 years. But we're not, those are not conversations that I bring forward to the board necessarily, because there's nothing, until it looks like something is gonna happen, it's not happened yet. And it wasn't until it looked like this was something that was actually gonna bear fruit, so to speak, that we began to have conversation at the board level, and we engaged legal advice on that. We held an executive session for legal advice so they could get an understanding of what that looked like, and we moved forward. So how long is it? I hope that answered the how long.
Can you summarize, when was it brought to the board? 9 months?
So, we talked, and I don't, that's a really good question. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be evasive on when that is.
Really went around it, yeah.
I can tell you specifically on the public dates. It was a date in January where we received legal advice for, on a real estate issue. And then it was the March and the, the 2 meetings in March.
11th and 25th.
It was considered and then it was approved. So that's really what it was. I'm certain that there's some email about that prior to that, once we looked like it was going to go, but I can't tell you what the exact time frame was. I would say maybe a month or 2 ahead of that. So that's why I'm trying to be on as plain as I can be. Prior to that, though, there was not any discussions or formal discussions with the board, because I didn't know that it was gonna go. So I would say maybe a 4-month, 5-month window with of entirety at the most.
And one other comment. Earlier, you introduced your staff. Are there members of the board here tonight? Did you introduce them?
Yeah, good question, and I want to be respectful for Nancy in just a moment. But no, the board is not here, and let me tell you why. The board is not here because, first of all, if we have them all here, then we start to bump into open meeting law violation, and because we're discussing something that could come before them. So just want to clear that out. Having 1 or 2 of them here complicates that same issue, because some of them are getting information that others aren't. So because they're a public body, they're not here. So I'll take this information back to them, but that's why they're not here.
Well, hold on, so are they watching? Are they gonna even get this information?
Yeah, they're gonna get this information.
John, or-
Yeah, I'm collecting all comments, and we'll share that with them. I will report back to them. That's my role as the executive officer, is to keep the board informed.
So they're not even gonna hear directly what we're saying.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
Go Nancy, go Nancy.
Hold on. Basically, the entire purpose of this meeting is to give the feedback to the board and to the district. You guys don't even have them here.
Joseph, respectfully, very respectfully, please, you have your chance. Let Nancy
I'd
go.
like them to address that though, because they're not here.
Hello, my name is Nancy
Report.
Reese. My family and I have lived in the Vail School District since June of 2004. When we moved here, we did not know we had an autistic child, and we could not have landed in a better school district, not only in Tucson or Pima County, but probably in the state. So I come from the special needs world of the Vail School District, and it's just phenomenal. Personal opinion. Good evening, Mr. Pruitt, how are you tonight?
I'm well, Nancy, how are you?
We're here tonight to voice our opinions and thoughts and to be heard. First, I'd like to say that this has nothing to do with the Church of Latter-day Saints as much as it has anything to do with my Catholic church or a Jewish synagogue or anything. It's just about, it's a religion. Doesn't matter which it is. Our First Amendment creates a balance for our public schools. The students are free to express their faith however they want. that the schools must remain neutral and avoid endorsing a particular religion. Under the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, it stated that public schools cannot promote or endorse any specific religion. Mr. Baker had commented in one of the Facebook posts that this is a conversation that's been going on for 13 years. My question was going to be, why did this take so long? But you already got to it. Personally, though, I never heard any of this talked about. I didn't go to all the board meetings, but I did attend some, and I just never heard it, so I don't know if it was there. You said in an interview with Reina Prasado with KGN9 that the decisions that have been made fit a pattern of decisions that we have made historically. Does that mean that historically these decisions have been made without public input? One question.
That was not my intent with that comment. The pattern of decisions that are made are a pattern of decisions that are made to enter into agreements with other community groups within our community, whether it's other churches or other people who rent and use our space.
So you weren't really saying historically we do all this behind everyone's back?
No, that was not.
Because that's kind of what we
intent.
think.
Yeah.
Okay, where was I? The Vail School District has about 15,000 students, about 23 give or take buildings, and a couple of million acres on space. There's got to be room somewhere else for a building. Some people's houses are 1,300 square feet. My son lives in a 900 square foot, one bedroom apartment. So we're not talking about a small building being put on campus. I had to cross out a few things as you clarified them to me. Okay. I just lost my place, everyone. I apologize. Okay. There is a place for religious education in the parochial schools and in the private schools. And if you want it, that's great, go for it. Raised and educated in the Catholic Church, I have nothing against religious education, but there is a place for it. Reiterating what I think this gentleman, the first guy, said about our taxes, we pay for everything. We pay for the school, your salaries, the maintenance, buses, laptops, landscaping. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm not addressing. Those are just kind of some of the obvious. This community and the outsiders are watching. People outside of our community are talking about us. And as we teach our children, please make wise choices. Please listen to your community.
Thank you.
Please take us seriously and listen to us. Respect our feelings and thoughts and opinions. I think that the school district needs to start listening to us and sharing what's going on with us. Because we are the community. You serve us, we're the community. And I think it's only fair to have us be a part of something that the school district had to have known was gonna create something like this, or even bigger, which it can get that way. Thanks for letting me talk.
You're welcome.
And carry on, Vail.
Admit a mistake, I got the numbers really confused, so number 5, and then Geraldine is number 6. Sorry, Geraldine.
That's fine.
My name is Wendy, and I will be putting you on the spot tonight so that I can get some direct answers. It's easier for me if you answer a question right after it's asked, because we go on to these tangents and I get lost.
Okay.
So I apologize for that.
It was Wendy?
Wendy.
Okay.
I respectfully would like to ask the questions that I have. The very first question was, when did the process start? And I'm still confused as to when it started. You talked about 15 years, you talked about 7 or 8 years, you talked about 4 months. I would like an exact answer. When did the Mormon Church come to the Vail School District to propose building a building and having it be on school campus?
Okay, very specifically.
Specifically.
There have been off and on informal conversations for a period of years. likely spanning 13, okay?
Okay, so we're
So,
talking
so,
13
in, so
years.
informal conversations have occurred where there was no, intent to move forward. So there was just informal conversations. When the conversations began to occur that there was intent and to seriously move forward, again, please don't hold me to this exact timeline because I don't have my emails up and those kinds of things. But I would say several months before the board received legal advice in an executive session around this. So some period of 2-ish months prior to that, which was in January, the board received legal advice. And based on that legal advice, we proceeded to work with attorneys that you see represented there and attorneys from the church and others to craft the agreement. That agreement was brought forward to the board in March in 2 meetings. That's the timeline. So there was a long period, to clarify for others, there was a long period of informal conversations. It would go years. Years, there would be nothing. And then there would be something. And then it wasn't until recently that they inquired again, and this time, instead of just inquiring and saying, hey, what if, it was, we're serious, we want to move forward. That has happened within this recent time period, culminating in March. Is that helpful?
Okay, so given your answer, would it be fair to say that the seeds for this plan were planted about 13 years ago?
I don't know that, I think the concept has been kicked around. It's hard.
Maybe a yes or no?
What's hard to answer about that is we have those kinds of conversations all the time. As I just described, I've personally had conversations with 3 different developers for the 400 acres around the school district.
While I understand that, we are talking about a very large religious group coming to you with an idea. So they're planting seeds with the district about 13 years ago, right?
The ideas were considered. That's what I'll say, Wendy. The ideas were considered and nothing went forward.
Okay.
And in 13 years, they found no vacant land to build this. They had their eyes on it.
Why you guys keep interrupting? We're gonna be here till midnight.
Yeah, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Pick a number.
Being that that's the case, again, respectfully, I would like to know, why was none of this brought into the public arena until very close to the execution of this document, which looks like the papers that were offered to us coming in have been executed on March 24th, 2025. Do I understand they have actually been executed by both parties?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So why was this not brought to light until, oops, this is what we're gonna do, and by the way, we did it?
Right?
So, the document was executed after a notice public meeting, and at that notice public meeting, the issue was discussed and talked about, and then at the next notice public meeting, that same issue was on the public meeting agenda and was discussed, and it was voted on and approved, and then after that was done, the agreement was signed.
And so when this public meeting was put out to notice to the public, where was that meeting posted for the public to be able to attend the meeting to offer their own thoughts and ideas?
It's posted on our public forum for where our board meetings are.
So one would have to go to the Vail School District webpage and look for a meeting and then say, ooh, they're gonna talk about this, I should go.
Wendy, you're not asked, I don't want to assume a question, so I'm just going to say what I'm sensing from you is a frustration that there wasn't more public, an opportunity for public.
Yes, I feel that it was very hidden from the public for a very long time until we're gonna sign this thing and now, by the way, it's already signed.
I hear, what I wanna say for you, to you, and to others, if that's your thing, I hear you. I hear you, and I'm sorry that that's the case, okay?
Okay, that's fair.
Listen to me for a second. I can't go back and undo that, but I can.
I understand that.
I can't go back and undo that.
It's a car wreck. It's already happened. I understand that.
So what I can do is look you honestly in the eye and say, I hear you, I'm listening to you, and if we need to back up, we'll back up, and that's why I'm here.
Right.
That's why we're doing this, okay?
Okay. This one's really gonna put you on the spot. I don't know if you can answer this question or not. First, how many board members are on the school board?
There's 5.
5 people. Were those 5 people the ones that had the only votes for yay or nay to get this agreement to go through?
So, yes, it's the short
Okay.
answer. The longer answer is, that's what the community votes, community members, to be board members, to represent you as a community, us as the community.
Okay, of those 5 board members, it is my understanding that 3 of them are of the Mormon faith. Is that true or false?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that to them to discuss.
Okay, all right. The agreement talks about repairs for the repairs will come out of quote-unquote funds for any major repairs to this proposed building. Where are those funds coming from specifically?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Say that again.
Your agreement states that any major repairs for this building that's being proposed, that the funds will come out of somewhere for all these repairs. Where is somewhere? I assume that the Mormon Church hasn't agreed to pay for those because it's not in the agreement.
Right.
It says that the Vail School District will be responsible for those. I would like to know, where do those funds, where are they generated? Is it taxpayer money?
Yeah, so let me answer the question, okay? So we're doing 2 things. One, we're collecting a rent and a lease payment.
Right.
So those are funds that will be collected to cover costs associated with wear and tear in the space, utilities and those kinds of things. There's an escalation clause in there that if needed over the term of the lease, based on cost increases and those things, that we can collect those funds to do that. And it is all leases and agreements. If something is willfully broken or done, we charge the person that did that with what happened. So, I mean, we will work with the entity to do the repairs. But specific to your question, we're collecting funds to cover costs associated with maintenance and utilities.
$500 a month.
$600.
$600. Well, I thought the $100 is the rent, and then there's $500 for.
Both of those things combined are $600.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. With regard to the prepaid legal, is DeConcini part of the prepaid legal, or is DeConcini McDonald a law firm that you have had to retain through separate funds outside of this prepaid legal system?
No, very specifically, DeConcini McDonald is a part of the prepaid legal services. We utilize them for a number of things.
Okay. My last question. Given that the United States has upheld the principle of separation of church and state since its founding, can you please clarify in detail how the district's agreement with the Church of Latter-day Saints does not constitute a violation of this constitutional principle?
Wendy, I'm going to respectfully just say, those legal you're not an attorney, I'm not an attorney. And this isn't a board, right?
Right.
So for me to make a statement about what that looks like, I'd be way out of my lane.
I'm curious because I've been a paralegal for 30 years and file lawsuits all the time. So this brings up a strong question.
Okay, then you're also familiar that answering that isn't done in a forum like this. answering that question is done in a court of law.
Okay, it probably will be.
Yeah, and my point is, that's why I handed you their response. I think the questions that you're seeking
Right.
are outlined in the document that you have.
Thank you. I
Okay, thank you.
appreciate the time.
Geraldine Cleaver, and then up next is Jennifer Matthews.
I came prepared with something, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna say it all or I'm gonna add to it because a lot of questions have come up while I was listening to what you were saying. My name is Geraldine Cleaver. I am a parent of two students at Cienega currently. I will now read from a transcript from the March 25th board meeting. This is only a section that was said by Mr. Carruth during that meeting. That meeting is posted on my YouTube page, so if anybody wants to see it, since the district deletes it. This is an agreement we're working with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. A donation lease agreement referred to as CHC to do a donation of a cost to build a classroom space owned by the school district and then lease back to CHC for the purpose of Release Time Seminary for their program during Monday through Friday, daytime from 6 to 6 p.m. Release Time Seminary is a program by the LDS Church, Jesus of Latter-day Saints. I'm sorry about that, guys. It is a national program. That is what you stated in that meeting. So you said it twice, Release Time Seminary. In the paper that you gave us today, it says it's not Release Time Seminary. Being a parent of two children at Cienega, I know that students that are not, freshman students cannot take a free period because they're not allowed to yet as a freshman. So Release Time Seminary would not be for them as a free time, like you stated. According to ARS 15806, which we all know now are probably familiar with, it states that release time is only allowed if students take these religious classes off school campus. I printed out school campus. The building is inside school campus. And just in case, I have another one that is in the whole green thing. That is Cienega. The whole thing is 12775 East Marion Cleveland Way. So this building would be addressed as Cienega High School. How is it that the school district attorneys found this building on school grounds with the intention of being used for Release Time Seminary, as you stated at the board meeting, which is during regular instruction hours from 7:40 to 3:40 at Cienega, not in violation of Constitution and Arizona revised statutes? It is, after all, on school property.
Okay, you ready? So first thing I'll say right off the bat is I misspoke around being Release Time Seminary. I was using it as a example, but I misspoke. It is not Release Time Seminary, so that was my mistake. Okay, so I made a mistake. It is not Release Time Seminary. All right. It is created.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
In Utah, it is Release Time Seminary.
So it depends on what it is. But what I'm telling you, it is seminary. It will be seminary, but it is not connected to release time. So we're creating space where they will use it for whatever they want. They want to use it for seminary class, but it is not release time.
Okay, that is on school grounds.
Okay.
Any religious instruction
Okay.
on school grounds cannot be done.
All right. Let me go to the next question. Okay. Which is the issue of school grounds. The map that you held up?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The whole green thing?
The green thing.
I
yeah.
printed it out today.
Yeah.
It says Cienega, it says Vail School District number 20 is the owner of that land.
That's right. Vail School District number 20 is the owner of that land. That is district property, not school property. And there is a distinction about district property versus school property, because district property is not, and there's case law, which is laid out for you there, that says there's a distinction between being on a school campus and on district property. And
The
that,
whole thing is behind a gate, a fence. The whole thing is behind a fence. It used to be gated, it used to be closed, so that it was all entire
okay,
Cienega.
I'm not, I mean, you asked
Okay.
the question and I'm just responding. As it says on your green map, Vale School District 20. The district is the owner of that property. It's 55 acres. There's multiple entities that use that property. One of them, as I mentioned, Pima County Parks had space on there. Pima Community College had space for a period of time on there. Vale Inclusive Preschool has space on there. It's on district property. It's not on school property. I understand, Geraldine, that and others may not agree with that statement or that position, but I'm just telling you that that's the foundation of what that looks like. Okay? It is, I made a mistake about saying that it was release time seminary. It's not. It's simply a space for seminary. And that is on a piece of property that Cienega shares part of that property. Vale Inclusive Preschool shares part of that property. Other entities over the years have shared part of that property. We had the same situation at several of our district properties. We have multiple schools on properties. We have multiple users in it.
Again, they're schools. This is release time. You said you misstated the release time. You also misstated that there was an executive session on January 28th. There was none. I looked at the board agenda. There was none. And for it to be with all board members, you must, if it's a quorum, you must state it. And it was not stated. I've looked at every single board meeting, and there's no executive session that states that you're going to be talking about this.
Geraldine, you all have an advantage if you're looking at your computers. I don't have looked exactly what it is. I'm just telling you.
I posted it on Facebook. Everybody saw that.
Yeah.
And you saw it too, because you're on Facebook. You responded to me on Facebook. So it's been posted that there was no executive session on January 28th, which you stated that there was an executive session.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Second question, well, third, fourth, I don't know what it is. I have been contacted by parents of 8th graders, incoming 9th graders, that they were promised a seminary building at Cienega in February when they were choosing their schools. If they chose Cienega, then they would be able to go to Release Time Seminary on campus. This was prior to being discussed at a board meeting, which was March 11th. Why were these children promised something that was never discussed with the public?
Geraldine, I have no idea.
Well, it was done, and kids signed up for Cienega because they were told this. Parents reached out to me, and they said this. So, how come they knew, but we didn't know?
Is that from a school email?
From Facebook.
What do you mean?
Was that promise sent over a school?
No, I was told by parents.
Okay.
They told me, I don't know how they got it, they did not want to disclose any more than that, because they didn't want them to be associated with it, because they're scared of repercussions against them, but they were promised having the school, and they did sign up for Cienega, just so we can have it, and I know that you needed 100 kids to be able to build this building. It's been said by many people that you had to have 100 kids to be able to have this building built in Cienega or at any of our schools. Also, it was said that Kim Middleton, the principal at Cienega, would be renting out a classroom inside Cienega for the children to take seminary while the building was being built. So how is that not on school grounds?
So let me answer multiple of those things. So I want to be very, very clear, Geraldine. There was no communication to us from any family during the discussion of any of that. None. Zero. Okay? So I don't know where those, that I can stand on.
Anybody from the district at all?
I have no idea where, if that is in fact true, which we haven't established, that I have no idea where that information is.
Parents are not gonna come forward, I know that.
So my second piece is, yes, we were considering doing something in a classroom until I received legal guidance that that's not legal. And you know what? We're not doing that. So.
And how can you promise that? Because this was, the whole discussion of this was done on March 11th at a school board meeting that I think most of us were out of town. I was out of town. I didn't have internet access, so I didn't get to see it. On the second meeting, on March 25th, which is kind of weird because this is signed March 24th. The meeting was on the 25th.
Is it
This was
signed?
signed on the 24th. It's signed in the back by you on the 24th, and it says on it, effective date on the 24th. The meeting was not till the 25th.
Right.
Well, I have it here. You said you gave us a copy, so I'm like, it was signed the day before. I know that dates can be mixed up, but this is a legal document. So I'm not sure, and it's also not signed, I don't know, there's a little tiny signature by the church, so I'm not sure if that's the signature. But I don't understand why you're saying that it was, nobody knew about this. It was brought up to the public's attention because I posted about it. That's the only way these people found out about it, because it was posted on Facebook that this meeting occurred and that it was approved. And the district deletes the videos, I record them, and they're available for everybody to see.
Thank you.
So, okay. Thank you.
Take a break, right?
Good.
My name is Jennifer Maddox. I am a parent of a student who is no longer part of VUSD. I had to remove him because he was assaulted by a teacher and the board did nothing. I found out about this matter and it enrages me even further than this treatment of my son. A gift, you can smile, I'm not smiling. A gift or a donation by any organization to a government entity is done or meant to be done with no expectation in return. However, the return that the LDS Church is getting from this is a significant reduction in rental costs. When you calculate the same space for any other religious organization who is only permitted to rent that space after school hours,
6 p.m.
yeah, exactly, is significantly higher. It is not $100 a month rent plus $500 utilities. It equals at least about $5,000 when we're trying to estimate similar space within the school, same school. So this isn't out of the kindness to just get or give, a space to the community. I would applaud that, I would welcome that, and I would champion it all the way through. It's not. They're getting a benefit in this reduced cost. That is not a donation. That is buying your space. Now that said, when this came up for vote to the board, given that 3 out of the 5 members are part of that organization, they should have recused themselves from that vote as a conflict of interest. No excuse for that, because they are members of that organization who are receiving a benefit. Now that said, we go on further and you compare the lease or the rental agreements that is offered to any other religious organization. They are not allowed, to your point, it looks completely empty when they're not there. You're right, there are a lot of churches in this community that utilize this space, and I love that we do that. I think it's great and it's an inclusive way. But when you read the agreement that has been now executed for the LDS Church, they are permitted to leave signage up when they are not in attendance. They are allowed to leave property there when they are not in attendance. They are allowed to install security cameras. Now here's the thing, when I asked for a security camera to protect my son, who was assaulted and witnessed by 3 other students, I was told that was not acceptable. So I couldn't protect my child. I had to withdraw him. But yet, for purpose of religious instruction, they can put security cameras to protect their population. Now, I love my LDS community. I'm not a member of that church, but I know so many people. They are some of the kindest people I know. But this is a biased agreement that is harmful to our community. We should not be doing this. And when we talk about a significant portion of our population, when you look at the actual statistics, it's less than 10% of our population. So we're making all of these accommodations to accommodate less than 10%. Now, I like that it was posted to me about how children, this was no different than children with IEPs or 504s. That's the way that they're looking at this. This is their accommodation. Well, I'm sorry, my special needs child wasn't accommodated for his physical safety. I'm not accommodating anybody else, I'm done. And I don't have a question, I just wanted to get that out.
Okay, whoever has number 7.
Wasn't that you,
Wait,
Jen?
that's 6?
I
No,
was
7,
six.
whoever has number 8.
Oh, I'm-
Hey, we're on number 8.
Well, yeah, for 7, whoever. We don't know anymore.
I was 6, you were 7, then you're right.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm moving slow.
And good evening. A lot of you know who I am, a lot of you don't. My name is Rebecca Myers. I'm a resident of Vail. I'm a taxpayer. I don't have children that are school age. My son is 30. He could be here. I want to say that I am concerned that the district and the board are not recalling their fundamental function. So I came here tonight to remind you all that your representatives, so contrary to popular belief, we're not a democracy, we are a representative republic. Ours is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And as our representatives, there exists an obligation and a duty to represent all of us, not just 10%. Currently, it seems like the district and the board are only interested in representing a very small portion of our population. I am concerned the district and the board are taking actions that will once again prove to be unwise. I am concerned that they are placing us in a position of breaking the law in order to establish a Mormon seminary on campus when those same students could do their seminary online if they're worried about driving. Discounting the skills, experience, and intelligence of the taxpayers in this district has proven to be a mistake in the past. The last time this community told a group that they were breaking the law, well, guess what? We were right. And we all know what I'm referencing. If you don't, ask me later. I'm not an attorney. I am not. Like others, I've worked for attorneys for many, many years. I do have a lot of familiarity with the law. And frankly, any layperson can see that this seminary building on campus as proposed violates the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America as interpreted by the Supreme Court. The case law is clear. I am concerned the district is placing us in a position of legal liability by attempting to circumnavigate both Arizona state law, the Arizona state constitution for using state property for this, and the Constitution of the United States of America. Should the district and the board move forward with this lease agreement as written, or as proposed, actually at this point it is written because it's been executed by both parties, they are gambling with the money that we, the taxpayers, intended for the children.
Yep.
This is not our money, sir. This is the children's money. Correct. Again, we are a government by the people, of the people, for the people, and I will say it again, we are not to have a government that is for the profit from the people. So I need to understand how it is that you can justify the legal costs that this will incur, because they will be incurred. There are 3 separate groups currently stating that they are willing to bring suit and take this through litigation. And there is one that has said flat out they will do it. Not just willing, they will do it. Guaranteed.
That is a legal battle that could go as far as the Supreme Court. So how can you justify risking the children's money on that? Number one question.
I think I've answered that, I've tried to answer that many times.
You say we're not there yet, but I'm telling you, we're there. Sir, we are there. That's where we are. They have said they will litigate this matter. Not they might, not they're willing, they will.
Of many factors that I've described, one of them listening tonight, and other factors that I've described, including the one that you're raising, which hasn't happened yet. We will take into consideration all of those factors in determining what the next course of action is. Okay? Saying something other than that is speculation. And I understand. I hear you. I hear your concern. And I understand where you're coming from.
Do you? Because we pay higher property taxes than anybody else in unincorporated Pima County in order to ensure that the next generation has the best advantages possible. And in this case, this should be a non-issue. These children that feel like they need to be able to do seminary can do it online during their free period.
I understand, and that's my main takeaway for this evening is I understand the frustration around not having a broader public conversation before the vote. I understand.
Well, that's huge, yes. We do feel disenfranchised, sir. We truly do.
I hear your concern on that, all right? And if I was simply ignoring that, trust me, I wouldn't be sitting here for an hour and a half listening to your feedback. Okay, so
I'm listening.
So that's where I am with that, all right? I can't go back, as I mentioned before, and undo that, but I'm sitting here tonight, all right?
Well, that's a good thing that contract has a clause in it, as do all contracts with the state of Arizona, that it can be canceled if it's found to be illegal. It is required and it is in the contract, y'all. It's in the last one. Next question. No other groups have access during school hours. You've mentioned going in and going to the church on the Sunday. Again, many people have mentioned those are not during school hours. I repeat, those are not during school hours. And so what ends up happening is there's an appearance of favoritism towards that one in promoting it, whether there's reality or not, there's the appearance of promoting the LDS religion. And the problem with that is the children who are not LDS or Mormon will feel like second-class citizens. Teenage years are horrible. Do we all remember when we were teens? Any little thing makes them feel excluded and like an outsider. Rejection dysphoria is a real thing, especially for teenagers. My next question is, and it's been brought up, Arizona has a very strict standard for conflict of interest. And it doesn't matter if that conflict actually exists or there's just the appearance of it. And with the church getting such a good deal, which is well below market rate, what everybody's asking without actually asking is what's in it for us? What's in it for us, the taxpayers? Nothing. You can get a building that the church has almost exclusive control over for 10 years that nobody else can access during those hours. And there's an appearance of a conflict because those 3 board members that do in fact admit publicly that they do adhere to the Mormon or LDS religion, whatever the prophet says to call it this year, there's that appearance. There is that perception. And Arizona government standard, as our representatives, is you avoid even the perception or appearance. So how do you resolve that?
I'm not going to get into that. There's no. I
Don't be a coward, George.
He's not an attorney. Don't put him in a position where he has to state a legal argument because then he could get in a lot of trouble. Let's not do that, people.
That's why I'm not going to answer that question. I'm just telling you that we are on the advice that we have been given we're on solid legal footing.
Okay.
That's where we are.
So question asked, and please note
And I
it.
just I wanna state again, the district and the community is getting a building for free. I understand the notion, I hear, please hear me say, I'm listening, I hear all those other things, but if I'm listening, I ask that you listen. And what I'm stating to you is 10 years goes by really fast. And what happens after that, who knows? What I know from history is that we have multiple buildings. I dated one, Pima Community College built the building, paid for it, and they don't use that building. You know who uses that building? Our school district, our children, everybody, all, and none of us paid for that.
And to repeat the same response, it's a school, Pima County is a school, these other community organizations are not a church, and we need that separation. And when you say we're getting a free building, and this is my last point, the church is willing to pay $500,000 for a building that's $500,000, correct?
I don't know.
Well, that's what it says. So, to that end, what's the net cost if you spend $3 million of our tax dollars trying to defend it? And that's all.
Yep.
Thank you for your time.
I just want to clarify again, we're not spending thousands of dollars defending this. We're currently in a situation where we're doing that operating under our prepaid services.
How many other religious groups have come and asked the same thing?
Sorry.
Yeah, my main concern is actually still up on the board.
I'm sorry, tell me your name. You might tell me.
Yeah, my name is Ryan.
Ryan.
It says the vetting of the staff is the responsibility of the organization. So just so I understand, the organization will have use of this building 6 a.m., 6 p.m. They put literally whoever they want to. You guys aren't looking into it at all. Is that?
Yeah.
That's correct. They're responsible. They have to carry insurance to cover all of those things, as does any organization. Whether it's, we don't, as an example, let me give you some other examples. We don't vet scouts that use our facilities. We don't vet dance troops that use our facilities. We don't vet athletic coaches who do those same things. That's on the organizations that run them. What I can tell you in my conversations with this group is that their level of vetting is very high. So, but that is not the responsibility of the school district to do. That's the responsibility of the organization.
Okay, that's just incredibly concerning to me. I know that for the staff members, there are a bunch of background checks, there's other security measures with the fingerprint card and all that stuff. I'm just really uncomfortable with that idea. There's another part of this that says the instruction. It says the district will have no role in delivery or oversight of the religious instruction. Should not the district have oversight over all instruction done on the campus, even in this building?
That would significantly entangle us and cause an establishment
You're
loss.
getting entangled there, so.
Yeah, if the school district did that, that would be blatant violation of the establishment laws.
Okay. It also said in the paperwork that no student is penalized or advantaged. Would you personally consider it an advantage to have your religion conveniently located on campus?
Yep.
And no other religion is there?
Bam.
So the issue with that is that as I mentioned before, any other group can come and ask
See
for
that
the same,
paper,
right?
right? See the funds and they can.
And ask and it will be considered. So there's no school advantage for this to happen.
Okay, and my last question, will students be encouraged in any way, shape, or form to attend the seminary? Announcements in the morning, hey, swing by building 1000, the back dirt lot, to see what's going on with this religion?
No.
Nothing like that, and you can be sure.
About 100% sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Cheryl Hernandez. And then up next is Kayla.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Mr. Caruth, and to your staff members for being here and being willing to listen. There's a lot of energy in here, and that's because we're really passionate about our community. I am very, very passionate about the Bailey Unified School District and about you and your staff. And I have my youngest child about to graduate from Empire, and I've only had a couple of issues throughout 15 years of having children in the district that I had to raise with the district, and when I did, I got attention like that, and so I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for that. And I appreciate you having this meeting, because I feel like you really are listening and you really are hearing, and I'm not here to give you a gotcha moment. I'm not here to try and prosecute you or anything like that. But I do want to give my feedback, which is short. I too had a concern. I love my board members. I love all of my LDS friends and family. And I hope that I don't get, isolated because of my comments. But I really think that anybody who has an affiliation to any organization that's asking to have a contract with a business, if the board is already affiliated with an organization, they shouldn't be voting for or against or anything for a contract that influences the people that are already involved with. So, for me, that piece, it just didn't pass the smell test, is what I'll say. It just didn't pass the smell test. I wouldn't have an objection to this building if the instruction was going to be before school hours or after school hours.
Exactly.
And I do agree that with school funding being what it is, it's very, very challenging to try and make it stretch as far as possible. And I feel like the district works really, really hard to do that. I can imagine that it feels very enticing and very attractive to see someone say that they're going to donate a building. But I think if they're going to donate a building, like that donation has to be a donation, but also I think the district needs to ask for some more things. And having religious instruction during the school hours on a campus or on district property, for me, I just don't like that. I think that's too much. I wouldn't mind if it was before or after. Anyways, that's my thought, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kayla, and then, good job. And then Randy.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kayla. Thank you, Mr. Caruth, for meeting and hearing us. A lot of other people speaking before me speak a lot more eloquently than I do, so sorry in advance. I didn't come with a bunch of notes, but my main question is, what would be the rent for another organization to use this building for any amount of time outside of the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. time period?
So we would utilize the rental rates that we have posted for them. I haven't had an opportunity to respond to that other piece, but the significance of the donation is offsetting, is completely covering the rent and the maintenance. So we do realize,
It's hard to call it a donation at that point.
Right. Good
Listen for just a second. So we realize a profit margin, so to speak, as a part of our rental rates that.
26, which is not very far out, just for the record. And then also, I also want to point out the renewal period that the LDS Church, CHC, however we want to call it, the organization, has the option to renew for 9 years and 6 months after their 10-year initial term agreement. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guess it's my turn.
Randy Randolph,
That
and
would
then
be me.
Daniel Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think actually we need to give a few props to the superintendent for actually showing up and doing it face-to-face with be nice if we could get our congressman to do the same. I'm a senior citizen, retired here in 2016, and like my other senior friends here have been very happy to pay our property taxes to support the Vail School District. They clearly do very good things for the students and, educating them, and we've been happy and proud to do it. My concern is that now some of those tax dollars will be used to support a religious institution on the campus. And looking at the contract, I see a couple of areas of concern. Under section 14B, the district's obligations, it says the district further agrees in its sole cost and expense to perform the following maintenance and repairs of the premises: structural roofing, building component maintenance and repairs, exterior building landscaping maintenance and repairs, building component repairs and replacement, etc., snow removal, etc. In a separate section, under damage, it says if the improvements or any major thereof is destroyed or damaged through no fault of CHC at any time during the term of the lease, CHC shall, in its sole opinion and at its sole cost and expense, either one, cause the district to repair, alter, restore, replace, or rebuild the improvements to such extent and in such manner as CHC may deem appropriate, and this lease shall continue or terminate the lease.
Yes.
My question to you, sir, is how can you guarantee that no public funds, which I assume equal taxes, will not be used, because some of this stuff is bound to happen?
So there's, again, I just refer to the escalation clause in the rent. We have an opportunity to do that if something happens. The other, for the first 10 years, it's a new building. We don't anticipate roof issues or repair that are associated with that. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Because there will be no other place for that money to come from except for the funds that the school district has. Is that correct?
We will utilize.
We have lightning, we have microbursts, we have all kinds of things that, wipe out.
So if there were something that were things, as you just described, that falls under our insurance.
So you can guarantee myself and everyone else here that none of our tax dollars will go to support this religious institution.
But I can tell you, Randy, I appreciate your comments, and to the best of my understanding, the best of my forecasting ability, I do not foresee utilizing public funds to support the building.
Well, I hope that's true, because yes, I agree with everybody else, it should be there in the first place.
I agree with you on that. Thank you for doing that.
Daniel Lewis and then Justin Walker.
Hello, everyone. I won't take up too much of your time because, to be honest, everybody's really covered a lot of what I wanted to bring up. But do you think that you're not in violation of ARS 15-1105 subsection D, where it says you cannot charge differentiated fees based on a person's or organization's different beliefs? I mean, your district use policy does show, and you have admitted that when you will rent out that building or any other facility that the district will rent out, they're charged substantially higher rates. And even the utility use fees that you guys charge for, as you stated, a 900 square foot classroom, which is much smaller than what the 1,300 square foot building that the LDS will be using. You guys charge $7 an hour for utility fees. Now, if you turn that into the 240-hour usage that the LDS will be using, you would be charging another organization over $1,000 a month. That's $1,680 to be exact, just based on that utility fee. Now, you can, I guess what I want to get at is what makes the LDS donating a building far more significant than what the taxpayer pays to fund the other buildings that the district has built every year.
As I mentioned to Randy, I'll mention the same thing to you, Daniel. I do not foresee anything or forecast anything where there will be taxpayer money used to maintain or that building. Those are covered in the lease and donation agreement.
So you can forecast that, but you can't forecast possible litigations against this?
I will tell you is those things are outlined in the response by Deacon C. McDonald, neither of us are attorneys, this is in a court of law. Again, what I'll say to you is what I'll say to the others. I hear your frustration. I hear the frustration in the room about wanting to know sooner. Can't undo that, that's why I'm here. But all of those other, when it comes to a legal argument, what I can say to you is those things are outlined in a letter from our attorney.
Well, it's not mine specifically, in subsection D. You guys mentioned subsection A, where it says you have the ability to do that. But in subsection D, it says you cannot charge differentiated fees based on religion, or the organization's religion.
Again, I will tell you, I believe that we're on good with this.
So I'm not going to do this to single out the Mormon faith, because there are crabby people in every religion out there, Catholics included. This is just more of a hypothetical question that I do have. With all the cases that go around this country with lawsuits and children being abused within the Mormon faith, there's plenty of information out there all throughout the internet that you can find, case law and everything else. If something happens to a VUSD student in that building with an LDS person, what are you going to do about it?
That's just, as you said, it was a hypothetical question.
Well, but I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, Cienega just recently had somebody
here's my response. My general response is this: it's no different than an organization. If you have a child that participates in Veil Vikings, and something happened to that child as part of Veil Vikings is the one that they're the entity that would be held responsible for that. If you have a child that's a part of Scouts,
I guess you're bringing it into.
Is it part of Scouts? And which uses our buildings, and that happened, then Scouts would be responsible for that. So.
But is that not after school hours?
Yes.
Anytime.
If it happens after school hours, because you can't do Scouts during school day, correct?
Again, I don't want to go over ground I've already covered.
No, John,
sorry.
I mean, come on. I'm asking a very serious question. If it happens, you're talking about the Scouts, you're using the argument of the Scouts or the Veil Vikings. Do they use the facilities, do they rent the facilities during school hours?
They are generally before and after school, as I've stated.
So if something happens during school hours, during this free period, what are you gonna do about it? I know it's hypothetical, but I mean, it's a serious question that can happen.
It's during a free period time of which.
But it's during school hours. That's my question. Would you tender your resignation with prejudice if something happens during school hours? Because you had brought this building onto.
Daniel, okay, I heard your question. Can I respond?
Absolutely.
Okay. First of all, it's a hypothetical question. Okay. What happens on free time is the responsibility of the entity that happens, that is charged for that free time. That's my answer. There's no further discussion about that. Because okay.
That's enough of a response to me. Appreciate it.
Next, we have Justin Walker, and then Joseph, who has messy handwriting, and I can't read his last name. I'd also, we have about 12 more speakers, and it's close to me.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go a little bit past 8, but you're gonna start running into my well here.
I'll go.
We're gonna start slim pickings.
I'll go quickly. You can tell there's a lot of anger and frustration in the room. I'll just say, from my experience, I pretty much stood behind the school board and the district for years since I've been a parent here, and in general, I believe that this agreement was probably made in the best of faith to try to strike a deal to help a need in our community. But to be honest, I was really shocked. When it first came out, I thought it was FUD, I thought it was fake news, there's a lot of stuff going around online. But when I saw the K-9 interview, it concerned me as a parent, to be honest. And I understand that the district is in this process of trying to evaluate the risk of the arrangement, even though it's already been executed. I hope the feedback in this session becomes part of that calculus. I will also say, as a number of people have raised, as one kind of public sector manager to another, John, lawyers get paid by the hour. We can come up with a lot of legal statements on both sides of the argument. But I think it's very clear at this point that like there is going to be legal action coming forward with this, and I hope that knowing that becomes part of the calculus from today onwards. A couple other things I will mention is I know it's been mentioned that the same arrangement has happened in Marana. As far as I know, that arrangement has not been tested in a public court. So I think we're at an inflection point here where if the board decides to move forward with this issue, the ramifications could be statewide and not necessarily something that will just affect our school district.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're just, right? Okay.
That's me. Mr. Curtis?
Hi, tell me your name again.
Brian.
Brian. I lied on the form. I gave her my first name. Hi, my name is Brian. I've been living here for 25 years with my wife, and we had 3 children who were raised and went through the Vail School District for their whole school time and had a wonderful education. It's always been one of the best school districts in the state, right?
Yes.
That's part of why we're concerned, because we're protecting something really, really good that we have. It's part of why we chose to live out here. We looked at when my wife and I were hired here by one of the major employers in the state, and we drew a little circle and said, okay, where can we get a good commute to work and be in a good school district because we want to have children? Yep. That was here, this area. And it worked out well. All three of our children went to Vail School District their whole growing up. They all graduated with 4.0s, got a full-ride scholarship to U of A, and they're still at U of A going to college, and they're doing well because of the Vail School District. So thank you. And thank you for your courage for being here. I want to expand on one thing that wasn't actually stated explicitly. It was touched on a little bit by one of the gentlemen in the back, and I'm going to ask you, Mr. Kurtz, to take it back to the board. We've talked about the constitutionality in separation of church and state, and we're not here to form legal opinions, and it's not the place for it. But I will go back to what the founders of the Constitution meant when they put that amendment in the Constitution. And it wasn't to protect the state, it was to protect churches. The reason there's separation of church and state is because what our country was going through in the 1700s with this very educated set of people who drafted and formed the Constitution is if you get into a situation where a church is within the control and in the land and property and under the authority of the state, then we start impacting the freedom of religion. And so I would ask you to take it back to the board and have as part of the discussion, because we haven't really explicitly stated it here in the room today, is they shouldn't want this. If they're from the LDS religion or any other religion, they are putting themselves into a position where they're going to have a facility in government-controlled land and authority that then has the ability to come in and tell them what they can and can't do with their religion in that building. That's what the amendment was there for. So it's a bad idea for that reason also. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 16, I don't have a name, but there she is. Okay, and then 17 is Isabella.
I'm really nervous, so don't judge me. I'm Christina. I'm part of the Cienega staff. I think you touched a little bit about my question, so I just wanted a little bit of clarity. Ms. Middleton did tell us that there could possibly be a class on campus. My question is more, since all Vail's employees have to be fingerprinted, all coaches do, all volunteers do.
Yep.
I understand that they're responsible of hiring a person I'm okay with that, it doesn't matter to me. Just more on the fingerprint part, just because it's on campus. You did say that legally you guys aren't gonna do that anymore. So my question shifted into if something were to happen, not with the parent, like not with the teacher, but more student on student, like discipline wise, what would be the process in that? Because like a fight on campus is still a fight on campus regardless of where it really is. Like it's in the ag building, it's still processed that way. So I'm just more wondering like religious discipline wise and fingerprint wise. I'm not a member of the LDS church. I just mostly had that question like as a staff member for the students. I don't care about the other stuff like money wise or anything.
Thanks, Christina.
Yeah.
So to be clear, none of this would be occurring on campus. It would be occurring off campus in a leased building. So what I'm understanding you to say, is what I'm misunderstanding, let me know, is that what happens if there's a discipline issue in that facility? Is that the responsibility of the CNA staff, or is there any entanglement? The answer is no. It's not. It's off campus. It's not associated with campus at all.
Okay. And I just want to say thank you for having this conversation, and I don't necessarily agree with the way people are speaking to you, because you're just more the front person face right now. So I just want to say sorry, it makes me feel bad, especially since I work in the district and I love the district. So I just want to let you know I'm sorry on behalf of anybody that made you feel upset. Thank you.
Isabella and then Samantha S.
My name is Isabella, and I am the graduating senior from Micah High School, which might leave you wondering, like, why do I care about this? I don't pay taxes. This doesn't directly affect me, but I do have friends who are part of this church. I have many friends who are part of this church, and I greatly respect the church, especially coming from a Catholic upbringing. I think both of these churches really value service, and that's something that I love about both of them. I'm very concerned in the vetting of the staff that will be doing this, because this building is on campus and it puts every single student on that campus in danger. We as a district are not going to be like regulating like who these people are, and there has been abuse of like religious leaders towards people, especially children, and I'm just very concerned with like the people who are going to be on campus, whether or not they're part of the church, and whether or not they're part of the seminary. And I don't really have a question, but I think that's a very deep concern. Like, these children are going to be in danger, and I do have family who's likely going to be going to Cienega, who I just don't want to be part of that. And I would like to also make a statement that you've said many times tonight that you hear us and that you're listening to us. However, I somewhat feel that if you actually wanted to hear us, that you would have opened this up to the people instead of trying to hide it.
Isabel, some good statements, and what I want to just clarify a couple of things. One, I hear your concern about the vetting of staff. What I can say to you is, like your parents are concerned about where you are and who you are, who are the adults in your life, your friends who are LDS who would be going to this program, their parents are deeply concerned about who those people are that would be in front of them. And so in that situation, I can't speak for that organization, but I in conversations with them, know that they are very concerned and highly paying attention to who was the quality of the adult that is overseeing them. So I would just say that. So there's I guess my short way of summing that up is, children from parents and families would be attending that. Those parents are as concerned as your parents about who the adult is in that room, and would have the same questions as you have and your parents would have about who that person is. And so those questions are going to be asked of the church, be asked of what that person is, to assure that there's to the highest level of assurance that that person has been vetted and is high quality. I'm not that organization, but knowing what that looks like and knowing the families that are going there, that's where that is. And to your piece about opening the public, I've heard that several times here. What I can say to you and everyone else is this. If there was an underestimation, if there was a mistake regarding not understanding the level of your collective concern, whatever that is, we'll own that. I'll own that. It was not done intentionally. It was not done in spite of comments to the contrary. It was done out of wanting to simply move forward and missing and underestimating what that looks like. I'll own that. I go back to what I said in the very beginning, though. Our decisions, my decisions around that, we're pursuing aggressively the mission of our school district to serve parents, to provide safe, nurturing school communities for them, to provide high-quality relations and high-quality programs. We're gonna do that all the time. It's what, in my mind, for 30 years has made this place a great place. If we make mistakes in that pursuit, I'm not above saying we made some mistakes. We'll stop, we'll back up, we'll fix them, we'll move forward. That's life. Frankly, as the 17 or 18-year-old, if you learn that sooner than I did as an adult, you're way ahead of me, but that's what happens. But one thing about recognizing where you are is, hey, we're here, what are we doing about that? I'm here, listening to you, taking pages of notes in regards to what that is. That's the only thing that can happen from here. Okay?
Hi, I'm Samantha, and I have a fear of public speaking, so here goes. I am an atheist. My whole family is. How do you think this decision makes my family feel? And then more of a statement is, if I could convince like an atheist organization or even the Temple of Satan to donate the funds necessary to plan, design, and construct a classroom building on district property, I know 100% that you guys would not vote on that at all. And I think that's incredibly unfair. That's all.
Thank you. Steve Gordon, and then Matt.
Oh, there's a.
Good evening. My name is Steve Gordon. I'm going to ask that whoever the young lady was, I don't need you to apologize for me.
No.
I appreciate it, but I don't need you to apologize for me. It's very obvious to me that the school board and you, John, have taken the approach of do it and beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah.
It seems very obvious to me. You've been saying all night tonight, I'm listening to you, I'm listening to you, I'm listening to you. So I've gone to a lot of classes in this kind of stuff. You're taking the heat. I don't know that you're hearing us.
Right.
I really, really don't. And I apologize. I will apologize for that if I'm wrong. But my perception is you're not hearing us. So let me do some other things. We're playing word games.
Yes.
You're playing word games. And you do very well at that. I've known you. I was in the school district. I was a teacher. I've listened to you before. You do very well playing word games with people. And I don't know that anybody's caught that. Let's talk first about salaries. You're a salaried employee, so I totally get your time is your time, and it doesn't have any bearing on this. I totally get that. How many hourly employees will do work to support the LDS efforts moving forward? Not just in the planning, not just in the building, not just in the vetting, but moving forward. Let's say that your staff does 10 hours a week, support this class, this building. The low end of your salaries for the custodians, that's the low end. I'm not talking about people who make more money, is $17 an hour. In 1 month, that's $680 for just 10 hours of work of staffing. I'll use your word. The numbers are split out for a reason.
Right.
They're split out for a reason. So I'm going to use the $500 because the $100 doesn't matter. I'm going to talk about that in a second. This will cost us, the taxpayer, $180 a month minimum. I'm being generous, just saying 10 hours and $17 an hour.
Yep.
So that's the first thing. That's the first thing. The other thing I want to point out is, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You say that you've talked about this and it was on the agenda. I actually reached out to your team, John. I reached out to your team and asked, where is the meeting minutes that talked about this? I'll go back just your period, over the last, let's call it 9 months. I'm not going to go back 13 years, because I agree, there's a lot of conversations that go on. But 9 months ago, you guys had you really had a definitive answer where you were going. Where in the 9 months have you done this? Where did you reach out to us? Where did you make public meetings? Even this meeting. Do you know, you scheduled this, what, Friday? I think it was on Friday you scheduled this? There are 2 other important meetings happening tonight that adults had to decide whether they wanted to attend or not. I wanted to go to the Master HOA meeting because I have things to deal with the Master HOA. I chose not to go there tonight and come here because this was more important to me. I have to now forget that until next month or whenever they hold their next meetings. But you know their meetings are there. You had an online meeting for 18-year-olds, I think it was. I don't know what it was, to be honest, because I don't have kids. But that was scheduled. It seems to me that you purposely scheduled this meeting tonight in hopes that you didn't have a good turnout. I'm impressed with this turnout, really.
Yeah, me too.
I wonder how many more people would have came and talked and spoken up had you thought about the true residents of Vail and did this meeting when people were available and didn't have to make a choice. Didn't have to make a choice. I'm going to leave you with this. One more thing I want to point out. Again, with the mix of words. You say that this is going to be built on district property. We can all say every school is on district property.
Yeah.
It is behind a fence. The perception, and again, this goes to just what makes common sense, what seems realistic, and that is anything behind that fence belongs to Cienega High School. Whether it's the inclusive place, whether it's whatever, it's Vail School.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, if you want to go and say it's a district, it's not in Vail, all you have to do is do this, and you're in Cienega High School.
Yep.
It's literally that close. So that's all just wrong, and it's just noise, and it's just trying to get people who aren't paying. I don't mean this bad. I really don't. It's people who aren't really paying attention to what you're saying versus what you're saying.
Right.
You say you can't forecast if there's going to be legal actions and lawsuits. Any good businessman, any good CFO, CEO, anybody. I'm the director of supply chain. I even did it. You anticipate the worst and you have a contingency plan. You know what that means. A lot of great questions about contingency plans, and all I heard from you tonight was, I'm not going to go there, it's all speculation, it's all rumor, it's all conjecture. No, it's real. You've been given a letter by agencies, I apologize, the Secretary of Arizona. They're pretty clear, and I believe I saw online where you got another letter as well.
Yep.
A cease and desist letter.
3 letters.
3 letters, thank you. A cease and desist letter. Where are you at with that? Are you just going to move forward and ignore that? If you're going to ignore that, that's probably a legal action that you know is going to come down because you got the letter. A lawyer's not going to spend the time to go write that without the anticipation of moving that forward. Again, I do appreciate this tonight, but I think it's a game. I really, really do. I think you're just trying to blow some smoke. You're trying to take the pressure off, and you're trying to beg for forgiveness now that you were caught to do what you're going to do. Thank you.
I wish I could change your perception. You're entitled to that, but there's a few things I just want to clarify. I think 10 hours of work on a classroom is way over what would be needed to clean a classroom. I mean, most things are cleaned in less than 30 minutes. So just to say that. Anyways.
I know, right?
It's all your staff.
Okay, next
Okay,
is.
well, I have a couple other clarifications. If I gave you the floor, let me have an opportunity, okay? I understand picking a night, you have to pick a night. Between now and the end of the school year, there isn't a night that exists, that there isn't conflicts. So simply have to pick a night. Tonight's the night. Again, I can't change your perception on what that looks like. If you believe it's a game, you can believe that. I'm just telling you in my heart, that's not why I did that. I have tonight available, and that's why I'm here, okay? And the rest of it, or you asked about, what about the responses to other organizations that have reached out? Any legal entity that has reached out is getting a proper response. Okay? We don't. Next.
Matt and then Dennis Luber.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, I haven't been in front of a microphone in many years, so is this an okay distance?
You're doing good.
My English teacher in high school used to say I boomed all the time without a microphone. So first off, I'd like to piggyback on, I'm sorry, I forget your name, but about transparency. When board meeting happened where this was discussed and agreed upon, the next board meeting was canceled without any good reason, which seemed a bit suspicious just because there was public blowback. And then this meeting came up, which thank you for having it because I do think it is important for us to have a chance to do it. And I know that you're sticking your neck out there for doing it, so I appreciate it. I had to hear about it from somebody else because I'm not on social media. Like I've had a Facebook account for 20 years and used it less than 20 times. Which, oh well. But then I got an email, a district-wide email yesterday about, I can't remember the organization, but something that had to do with children with special needs.
Yes, turning 18.
What was it?
Turning 18.
Thank you, turning 18. That event was happening tonight at the same time.
Which I missed. Yep.
But that email came yesterday at 12 o'clock, district-wide. But we couldn't get a district-wide email talking about this event right here. So just from a transparency standpoint, doesn't look very good. That in addition to the canceling of the board meeting, so.
Especially when it was asked for.
Precisely, yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. So that's, just want to get that out of the way first. My bigger point is this, and actually I should ask, who here is familiar with the layout of Dale Inclusive Preschool at Cienega? A couple people? Yeah. Okay, all right, so Mr. Groot, this goes back to what you were saying about the building that used to be part of Pima. That is now part of Dale Inclusive Preschool. I want to emphasize it's part of Dale Inclusive Preschool. It is not the entirety of Dale Inclusive Preschool. There is the Pima portion, or the portion that used to be Pima Community College. There are 2 basketball courts. Then there is the space that is being proposed for the seminary, and then there's the main campus of Dale Inclusive Preschool. Okay?
Matt, can I just correct you because you're going down the correct path. The Pima Community College space was not associated at all with Dale Inclusive Preschool. It was actually adjacent to the ROTC building.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it one? What was that building used for before? Oh no, it was Pantano High.
The build, so there's 2 different structures that are out there. Both are currently used by Dale Inclusive Preschool. The one that's close to the softball field was constructed for Pantano High School.
Okay.
And is now Dale Inclusive Preschool, and then the triangular shaped building is Dale Inclusive Preschool.
Okay.
It was built exclusively for Dale Inclusive Preschool.
Thank you for granting me. That's been a long time since I've done that. I used to work at Dale Inclusive Preschool for 8 years, so where I'm coming from this is there's 2 buildings. Students, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, some with special needs, some without special needs, have to traverse the distance from one building to the other.
Yep.
The sidewalk where the students have to walk, it abuts parking spaces. So people are pulling in and out during drop-off time and pick-up time. And I have seen students before where someone's pulling in, and these students have to walk off to the side, get a little closer to the basketball courts, because people are pulling in and maybe they're getting their bumper a little bit over.
Yep.
And so when I hear about, and this went on when I started in January 2015 and kept on going when I ended in December of 22. And so when I hear about safety, the concern about safety, that this is for safety, this is for this, the high school students' safety so that they don't have to drive as far. I'm a bit offended at that argument because we're supposed to take that, we're supposed to have that be important. But our youngest, our most vulnerable students in this district, for their age, or whether they have disabilities or not, they're put in danger every single day. 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when classes are run in the main building, and they have to go to the other building to go to aftercare. So all it's gonna take is somebody jumping at once while those students are going by. That seems to have a higher risk than somebody driving on Mary Ann Cleveland.
Yeah.
I could get into a car accident going from here to Fry's afterwards. That's just an inherent risk of for anyone. Anyone going to Cienega to go to school, warm or not. So,
yep.
And where that seminary building is proposed could be used as an expansion for Bell Inclusive Preschool. Maybe not a big one, but to reduce or eliminate that need for that walking, which by the way, in the summertime, when it's 110 outside and the UV index is 11, that's hard on those kids.
Aww.
It is miserable. And in the wintertime, when it's cold, when it is windy outside, when it is raining, these kids, I mean, they're tough. They're strong. They walk through the elements. My two kids both did it as well, for 3 years each. And they never once complained about it, even though they didn't like it. So, it's more of a comment than a question, but just, why are we giving 109 high school students of one particular subset?
Yep.
Why are we giving them this importance when, again, the youngest, most vulnerable of our student population have to literally walk in front of cars on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As you know, they walk that sidewalk. Not been any incidents that I'm aware of. It's a controlled parking lot. I want to clarify one point. The board meeting was canceled. I announced it was canceled. I had a long scheduled professional development opportunity, so I canceled the meeting. That's why I canceled the meeting. So I'll take one more. It's 8:23, and I said we'd be here from 6 to 8. I'll take one more comment, and then I'll okay. I think I've gotten a good sense of where things are.
Remember when you were in school? And
can you tell me your name again? I'm sorry.
Dennis Lubert. I'm a resident of Vale. I don't have any children in school. I've been here 6 years. And I was just going to say, remember when you were in school and you were the last one to get up and speak, and everybody else had already said it? That's me.
Aw, Denny.
So I'm going to try to make it very short. One thing I thought I wanted to start with and end with is, whether you believe this or not, perception, you have to treat it as a truth. The donation of a building, a physical plan on school district property is the appearance of quid pro quo.
Yep.
The appearance of quid pro quo, if somebody thinks that's the case, you and your board have to treat it as fact. You all know what quid pro quo means?
This for that.
It means this for that. It means you give me that sweatshirt you've got, because I don't have a blue sweatshirt, but you're gonna want something back for it, okay? That's quid pro quo. It's legal terminology.
Yep.
But the appearance of giving a building to this school district is the appearance of quid pro quo. And that's something Deacon Senior Law Firm is gonna have to sort out for you. And I don't know what the prices out of our pockets are gonna be in taxes. Through and through tonight, I feel like, maybe you feel like this too, I'm an afterthought, okay? 13 years? Come on, Superintendent. 13 years and you scrambled this meeting together on Friday? I'm an afterthought, and so are all of you. That's just what we are, folks, like it or not. And sometimes you have to tell it like it is. The price, do you know what a 1,300 square foot building leases for in this area today? Commercial office space. Anyone want to take a guess how much per square foot? $22 a square foot.
Yeah.
Divide 1,300 by the rent that they're gonna collect, and you know how much that is? 46 cents per square foot. Do your math, people. I was lousy in math. In fact, as a freshman in college, I had a professor come and tell me to drop algebra because I was gonna fail it. 46 cents versus $22 a square foot. Is that the advantage that we should get as taxpayers, or the disadvantage? Let me phrase it that way. When I was 40, I was kind of still young, and I thought I knew everything, but I didn't. I've been active in the church because I was educated in the Lutheran church as an elementary school student. I proceeded to hold portions of the church, but I got a job transfer to Salt Lake City. I lived several years in Salt Lake City. And I don't want to get religious here on anybody, but I'm going to tell you something. As a Lutheran, I landed squarely in the backyard of the LDS community. Okay? Bought a home, lived on a street with 10 homes, and there were two that were not LDS people. But I had attempts at converting me on an airplane, in the supermarket, in the MVD, everywhere I went, I had LDS members of the church trying to convert me.
My daughter lives with the state president who does go to Siena High School, and she moved in there right after she turned 18. Just so you guys know.
If I had a student in this school, and I had trained them up in the religion that I felt they should follow, I'd really be concerned at that, folks. It isn't quite the same as my faith. They try to convert you everywhere. I'm serious. I had people invite me to their house for Sunday dinner in the seat of an airplane, and I couldn't get out.
Hey, Dennis, I can hear you.
Lastly,
we're
we're gonna finish up. Lastly, I've heard nothing but conflicts of interest tonight, religious bias, many I'm sorry's from the superintendent. And I can understand we all make mistakes, but there were lots of I'm sorry's tonight. Lots and lots of them. This is a supercharged issue. I believe you and your board knew that. But no one came to us until after Geraldine exposed it in social media.
Thank you.
I'm upset with that, folks. And now I would like to end by saying quid pro quo. If you didn't know what it means, now you know. This for that. Think about that hard, because this board put us in that position. Thank you.
Sure, I can talk to you afterwards too. So I just want to respect everybody's time. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your time. I can only say what's in my heart, and that's to you. So you choose. For lots of comments projecting on me about what I think or why I did that, I simply know where I stand and what that is. And I can tell you this: this decision was not made with malice. This decision was not made. I was not in any way trying to pull fast ones over on anybody. We're pursuing our mission, and that was what I was trying to do, and we're trying to do. So I understand. Look, I've sat here for 2 hours and listened. I'm just simply telling you where that is coming from for me. Okay, that's it. I've been here a long time. There is no willful intent to do anything other than to continue the excellence that is the Vail School District. This place means something to me and my family. And let me tell you, the work that I do is not work I take lightly. As I began, deeply honored to be the superintendent of the school district. If I wanted to do something easy, I wouldn't do this work, all right? I do it because I care about this place, I care about your children, and I care about all children. What I'll tell you is, I hear that, okay? You arrive at places and you need to make a decision about where you are in a place and then how you move forward. So we're here. That's all I can tell you. We're here and we're gonna move forward. I've outlined in the very first question, kind of what the path is. I'm listening. My responsibility as the chief executive officer of the school district is to take the information back to our board. So part of that is I'm listening. We're here. Things doesn't, as I mentioned before, doesn't mean that things can't be backed up if that's the direction that we need to go. We're listening. We are engaged with the church. They're listening. I can't speak for them on where they are, or what they want to do, or what is needing to happen. Outlined in the documents that none of us are attorneys, and this isn't a court of law, all right? As our memo states, and the fact sheet states, feel like we're on solid legal footing in regard to that. If there's legal challenges that go beyond that, we'll need to make some decisions about what happens with that. It's as simple as that. That's a third decision point, okay? That's what's next. So that's what's coming next.
The church should have no say in this decision.
But,
Zero.
well, let me respond to that. Actually, the church has at least 50% of the say, because they could back up, right? I mean, the church could simply say, we don't want to be a part of this either. So I don't know where they are. So my point is and I don't know what the answer is to that. Okay. So to do anything other than that is to speculate. I don't know. You don't know. To be very fair, I'm just telling you. I'm outlining one of those three things.
I know we've been here for 2 hours, but you've given all the naysayers an opportunity for 2 hours to say their whining naysay. You haven't given anybody who explained, who has a different perspective than they do. Okay, so I would suggest you to give us a few minutes, a couple more minutes, or either run another meeting, or next time run on a list to say.
If there's somebody who wants to speak, and I will give that opportunity to somebody who wants to speak. I mean, that's true.
I want to speak. Because it's been.
Whining naysayers.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
wanted to say that I know everyone is at a place of just like frustration, and I don't find it respectful that you're talking to someone like that. We are grown adults, and I know that we're all frustrated, but we should not be talking like that. I think everyone deserves a little respect.
Yes.
Well, okay. I've been part of this district. My children.
Can you just tell me your name again?
Robert Garcia. I've been part of the district for about 25 years. My children all graduated from the district. My grandchildren, most have all graduated from the district. The district I've been paying attention to from day one. And I can tell you, Mr. Cruz and others have always strived to make the best choice for the community and the students, okay? Now, everybody wants to argue legal faith versus religion. If you really want the interpretation, what you should be doing is opening it, right what I did, open the Constitution, and it goes right here, and this is what it says. The Supreme Court has ruled that the 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, requires states to, let me finish, I didn't interrupt you. Requires states to fundamental rights such as the First Amendment, prohibiting against the establishment of religion. That we're talking about states, they're establishing a religion, okay? And then it's, in other words, it says, that is meant to say that the federal government, state government, cannot, or to make it quote, make no law respective to any establishment of a religion. They are not establishing a religion at all. Let me continue. Okay, and then you guys were talking about public education. In the same Constitution Amendment, it says, public schools cannot include religious instruction or prayer in their curricula or events. The Supreme Court has ruled against school-sponsored prayer and Bible study in the classrooms of those public schools. You're not getting that. This is a private facility. Now, everybody's talking about funds. I know you talk about quid pro quo, I talk about ROR, return on your investment, all right?
Oh, he's
If-
a Dave.
If,
Hey, Dave.
oh, yeah, you don't, where have you been? Every
It's
school
okay,
district.
it's okay, Robert.
So, but my thing is,
We got to this point, this is.
yeah, so my thing is if they're getting this building for X amount of dollars, and I think it's pushing $1 million or something like that, and in over 10 years, after that, they're,
20 years.
you're talking about the investment after 10 years. I own a house in JV Ranch before we moved. I lived there for 10 years. I made $400,000. So imagine what $1 million is gonna make. Okay, there's investment. Schools, every school, every business, every church, churches all do it. There's a bunch of church members in this community from all kinds of walks of life of churches that have an investment in this community. I'm gonna tell you, if you don't believe me, go to any one of all the churches and ask, what's your investment in the community? I attend meetings about making the community center. All the churches are there. All the churches are there. I don't care what religion you pick, where you're at. My thing is, if you're gonna have a Christian church, LDS church, any other Christian church here, that's fine with me, okay? Because if any church can produce a child who's ethical, has great morals, and great standards, and who have high education achievements, that,
Yeah,
okay?
what about
If you wanna
our?
if you wanna bring Satan in, you can bring Satan in, it's your choice. My thing is, I'm gonna bring the Christians, as I have a choice. I'm gonna
What
bring
about
the Christian
Jewish
religions that I can. Okay, but that's what I think.
Thank you, Robert.
$283 billion.
Thank you all for being here. Appreciate your time.
We're just whining naysayers, so.
What's the next action? I mean, I talked for 2.5 hours and I just heard, we're gonna bring some notes and we're gonna move forward.
Fair question.
Three things, Joseph, three things, I'll say it again, three things. I'm talking to the board is the one so I'm collecting this information, listening to you, taking that back to the board, okay? That's thing one. We need to understand where the church is, and what they wanna do to move forward, that's thing number two. Thing number three is we need to understand, what is happening from a legal standpoint, and we believe we're on solid legal footing. What does the response be? You raised that question at the very beginning. What happens with those responses? I don't know what those things are. The board will need to make a decision whether that's they want to do nothing and continue with this, or whether they want to back up. I can't tell you what that is. What I can tell you is our next board meeting is on Tuesday. It's not going to be at that meeting. It's not enough time to do that. So it's probably going to be at least another 2 or 3 weeks before that, to be able to consider all of those things. Because none of those things are happening in 24-hour period of time, right? So it's probably going to be 3 weeks or so before any of those things start to gel. And we'll report back to the board. I'll let people know that when that goes to the board and what we do with that, okay? What I can tell you right now is that while the agreement has been signed, we're functionally in a paused state as far as moving forward with design or construction or any of those other things.
You've issued a stop work on that?
We're in a pause. We're in a pause, period. It's not moving forward. Everybody understands that this is where this is, right? We all understand what this process is.
Have you guys issued a formal notice?
No, Joseph, I haven't done that.
So you're not pausing. Have you issued a formal stop?
It's okay.
Or not?
It's okay.
So we're at pause, we're gonna go through a board meeting
There's-
again? Is that what's gonna happen?
I'm sorry?
Are we gonna go through another board? I'm trying to understand what's happening. So
That's what I'm trying to understand.
We've expressed our concerns, you're taking these concerns to the board members.
Yeah.
We don't expect you to have 24 hours.
What I will imagine will happen, what I imagine we'll do as a board is if it goes to the board level and they need to reconsider what that is, we'll probably hold a special board meeting, just because the board we do a lot of regular business and entangled. No, the board meetings are open.
So I thought.
So not an executive session then?
There's certain types of meetings you can have behind closed doors, and then there's certain types of meetings you have to have.
So the question is there certain kind of meetings you can hold behind closed doors and certain kind you can't? Only board meeting you can hold behind closed doors occurs in executive session. Very very prescriptive by law. So,
And that's not gonna happen.
not unless they are doing so to receive legal advice. They can't make any decisions. No decisions can be made in an executive session, okay? They can have an executive session to receive legal advice. I don't know. That may happen. They may want to hear from our attorneys specifically on this issue. So that may happen. That would be to do that.
That could happen, and then you'll bring this back in front
Yeah,
of the public.
if, right, and my, again, next board meeting is the 22nd, it's not gonna happen that fast, it's Wednesday on the eve of the holiday weekend, right? So that's not gonna happen. Whether it happens at the first board meeting in May, that's a possibility. And again, I haven't thought it all the way through, if other people want, if that's gonna be the defining issue, it's probably better to do a special meeting around something like that. So it's contained into that issue. I haven't made that decision yet, but what I'm telling you is, I'm listening, we're engaging the people who made the decision and what they want, what we all collectively want to do next. That's the next thing we're doing. And we're paying attention to what the legal advice is, and what the next steps are on the legal case. All of those have potential decision points. That's what's happening, okay?
Will you be reporting the quorum if any of the board members reply back to you any of your emails? Because I know that only Allison Pratt can reply to you as a president. If any of the other board members reply to you, that makes it a quorum. So you're not going to be sending any emails to the board and talking to them and having them ask you questions, or how's that going to happen?
Geraldine, board members can't reply to them. They cannot reply all to, and I can send the board information.
Yes, I know that. Mm-hmm.
Right? And they cannot reply all. If they reply all, that's a violation. But they can respond to me individually.
Okay.
Don, I want to follow up on the pause. You said pause, but are you going to commit to send a contractual notice to actually pause the agreement, or are we just running forward? When you say pause.
There's no construction that's gonna, Joseph, there's no construction that's happening. There's none. There's no meetings that are scheduled. There's
activities that lead up to that.
The design already happened.
It's laid out in the contractual agreement.
And the construction has already been.
Until full consideration is revisited, or are you moving forward with the non-construction activities?
We're not moving forward with all non-construction, with any activity that's designed to moving forward. We're putting so we have to schedule a meeting with them to have the meeting, right? There's no meeting scheduled.
Okay, and we're gonna send them a notice that we're pausing.
No, I'm not gonna send it. Enough. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
You make recommendations to the board, do you not? After tonight?
Sure,
You know what
hold
the
on.
recommendation would be?
Let me just turn this off really quick. Thank you. Yeah, I'm getting this. Yeah. Hold on, it's not wanting to pause.